Oh my god. Why do some K-pop fans do this? Why? So welcome to another edition of Real Talk, where I call it the K-pop fandom of some stuff they do that's just not cool, or I talk about some of the more unpleasant truths of the K-pop industry. Today's topic is that we're going to talk about how many, if not most, international K-pop fans can't really truly judge if a song is influential or not, if it's impactful or not. And I know that's going to hurt some fans' feelings because they think they're good judges of music, but as you'll see from the examples in this video, a lot of them, for whatever reason, just can't judge songs properly. And in the second half of the video, we're going to talk about how to properly judge what makes a K-pop song influential and impactful. And we're also going to talk about why many K-pop fans are so obsessed with numbers. We're going to talk about one influential group that has a major impact in K-pop, and it's also the subject of a lot of cringe comments. And it's a group I covered for many years. So let's briefly take a look at the Melon 100. So what did these international K-pop fans do this time? It all started when I was reading a somewhat old article from last year about Melon choosing their top 100 songs of all time. So I got this from Soompi, which was translated from the Melon website. And according to this article, there was 35 judges that were asked to choose 100 songs based off many criteria, including significance, success, artistic quality, and performance. And I do think that these 4 criteria are very important because most K-pop fans have this narrow mind of only judging on one criteria, as we'll see very soon. Going through this list real quick, we have a lot of bangers here. Starting at 100, we have Troublemaker's Troublemaker, Epic High's Fly at 95, got Pentagon Shine, Busker Busker's Cherry Blossom Ending. I do remember that song just popping off, I believe in 2012. SES's Dream Come True at 86, Red Velvet's Psycho at 85. We have Zico's Any Song, which I do think that should be higher. That song was popping off just a few years ago. Finkel's Eternal Love at 57, nice. A couple Big Bang songs at 47 and 46. 43, we got Hyuna's Bubble Pop. At 42, we got EXID's Up and Down. 35, we got 2PM's Heartbeat. 34, IU's 23. And 33, Girls' Generation's I Got a Boy. 32, we got BTS's Spring Day, one of the most iconic BTS songs. Well, we got another iconic BTS song at 25 with Blood, Sweat, and Tears. Big Bang at 24 with Fantastic Baby. And then we're moving on to the 10s here. We got 18, Kara's Mister. Woo, Suspender Dance, I love it. 17, we got HOT's Candy. IU's Good Day at 15. SES's I'm Your Girl at 14. Blackpink's Doo 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 at 13. 12, we got Super Junior's Sorry Sorry. Moving on to the top 10, we got TVXQ's Neurotic. Ooh, such a good song. And a slew of other songs from 9 to 6. Wonder Girls Tell Me, Brown Eyed Girls Abracadabra, 21's I'm the Best. And in the top 5, we have these iconic songs that pretty much every K-pop fan knows. Girls' Generation's G, BTS's Dynamite, Psy's Gangnam Style, EXO's Growl, and BoA's Number One, which is aptly named because it's number 1 on this list. Now, to be fair, if you disagree with this list or say, hey, maybe some songs should have been rated higher, some should have been rated lower, and some songs that weren't even on the list should have been added. Where I do have a problem is when I read the Soompi comments below to see their take on the list. And yes, I did expect a lot of disagreement, but just the way that some of these commenters talked, it's just reeked of cringe and entitlement, and they felt that they knew more about the Korean music industry and what makes a song impactful than the Melon judges and music critics. Let's take a look at some of them. Our first commenter, Taryn771. The more I look at the list, the weirder it becomes. Okay, for me, personally, Spring Day should have been placed ahead of Dynamite. EXO should have more than one song, and so on. Okay, this is so far so good. You have a lot of these comments too from international K-pop fans or fair that were pretty cool. Fuzzy Lot Bunny says, LOL, I love that BoA's Number One is number 1 on the list. Cool. And this person below says deserved. Okay. Then we're starting to get to the comments where I'm like, this rank is so weird. Spring Day not being in the top 10 is enough to make lose this list all relevancy. Okay. I would say that Spring Day should have been higher personally, but one song alone, one song does not make a list lose a relevancy. And then now we're hitting the big drama in all this and why I started cringing. So the song that was most heated on this entire list wasn't Boa's number one. It actually wasn't any BTS song or any Blackpink songs or IU songs. It was EXO's Growl at number 2. Some people are already saying that Growl isn't that impactful. And we're going to get to my story pretty soon about Growl and EXO. Then we have the star of this video, a big reason why I was cringing, Ruby Jenny. This person, from reading their comments, is an obvious Blink or Blackpink fan, loves Blackpink, totally cool, loved their songs, loved the group myself. And I think this person just hates EXO for some odd reason, as you'll see in these comments. This person starts off, the national anthem that had less than 15 music show wins. Even How You Like That and Psycho had more. You might already be thinking, there's something wrong with that comment or that line of thinking. And I get you. Basically, this person already is using music show wins as the defining metric of what makes EXO's Growl an impactful, influential song. And this person continues to downgrade Growl, as we'll see pretty soon. So this person gets into an argument, but they comment, you must be a minor, a recent K-pop fan. Otherwise, older K-poppers know exactly the impact Growl made. Very true. And then this person, Ruby Jenny, says some mean stuff about hitting your head when you were a kid. I mean, and that's another problem too with international K-pop fans. They resort to put downs a lot just to get their point across and say that they're right, which never happens, especially online. Why do you think putting someone down is gonna make the other person automatically think, you know what? Since you put me down so hard and you schooled me and you put me in my place, you are right. You know, I'm gonna admit to that. That never happens in online debates. It just doesn't. People just double down if they're put down because no one wants to back down in the online argument. I don't think you can convince anyone off a put down that you're somehow right. No one's ever going to admit that. It's really a shame that we can't talk about K-pop in a mature manner and be like, hey, we agree to disagree. Just rarely happens at all. Going back to this, all right, this person, I agree. Melon's list of top 100 songs, they're going to include songs that broke records in Korea and considered revolutionary there. Very true. I'm going to talk about this a bit later. Growl was considered the national anthem of Korea. True again. This person's also saying that EXO broke the 12-year drought. It was the first song or album that sold 1 million copies. They said of all time, not mainstream popular, based on Critics' Choice. This person, Mar716, says, what's so wrong with Growl being number 2? That's what I'm saying. What's wrong with that? All right, this person says, I thought these were music critics and experts. We're getting to that now where K-pop fans think they know more than music critics and experts. Oh God, this hurts my head. And then Ruby Jenny, our favorite, the star of this video, basically brings up Blackpink and Kill This Love and BTS and Twice and Cheer Up. This list is quite inaccurate, but you go, Melon. Yeah, BTS is the artist with the most songs on this list. I do agree with that. I think BTS is very influential. One of the only things I agree with Ruby Jenny, yeah. Some of the BTS songs are still charting. Almost done with this. I have to go through a lot of fluff. EXO is number 2, but they rarely reach top 90 of Melon with fans' crazy hype. Isn't that every K-pop song though? They reach charts with fans' crazy hype? Makes no sense. I listened to K-pop since 2011, and I can name a list of songs that had way more impact than that one, meaning Growl. It really reminds me of the saying, tell me you didn't live in Korea in 2013 without telling me you didn't live in Korea in 2013. And then the last one, because my head is about to explode now, I probably have to take like some aspirin or something reading these comments. If the list is based off quality, this shouldn't even be top 50. If the list is based off achievements, it shouldn't be even top 20 neither, because, you know, in parentheses, they can name at least 20 K-pop songs that were more important and had more impact than Growl. Oh my God. Why do some K-pop fans do this? Why? So my big problem is that most international K-pop fans can't judge properly a K-pop song's impact. What I mean by this is a lot of these fans will just use vanity metrics. And what do I mean by that? They'll use things such as music show wins, sales, music video views, YouTube subscribers, Instagram followers, TikTok followers, and day songs. And I think out of all these vanity metrics, the only ones that really matter, honestly, are sales, because, well, K-pop's a business and you gotta make money, and day songs or grand prize. Because the day song for K-pop groups is like winning a Super Bowl or a championship of a sport. But other than those two, the other vanity metrics don't matter. They don't add impact. They don't add cultural significance to the average fan or the non-K-pop fan saying, you know what? Because that group won 30 music show wins and EXO's Growl only won 15, this song's a lot more impactful. No one thinks that way outside of hardcore K-pop fans. And while I do like that K-pop fans actually use numbers for their arguments, most of them read those numbers wrong. They make bad correlations or bad meaningful conclusions from those numbers.
Now, one thing I do agree with some of the naysayers is that Melon should have been more transparent, more open on the scores that they gave each song. They should have had a breakdown on the 4 categories, a quick sentence or two why it was rated that way, and had a final score adding them up. Now, the next part of the video will be focused on Growl, not because this is an EXO only video, that's definitely not my intention, but rather I have to go in depth into Growl to show a song's true impact and to show what makes a song influential.
Now, some fans might call me a shill, that I'm an EXO well, or I'm totally biased towards EXO. That's not the case at all. Rather, if you're a regular subscriber to this channel, you know I just call it how it is. I pretty much just tell you the truth about K-pop, and then from there you can agree or disagree or meet me somewhere in the middle. And in EXO's case, by any conceivable metric, they were huge. I covered EXO as part of 3 companies when I worked in Korea. First, Yonhap News, then Korea Times, Korean Air's On-Flight magazine. If you're living in Korea or much of Asia during that time, you know that EXO's Growl was huge. Every cafe you'd go down, they'd play EXO's Growl. You would see them on TV all the time. They would have a lot of guerrilla concerts where a lot of high school and middle school students would skip their Hagwon classes or academy after school classes. They ditch it basically to go cover an EXO guerrilla concert. You see a throng of teenagers and you're like, shouldn't you guys be at your Hagwon or academy studying? No, they're there with their DSLR cameras taking pictures of EXO. Everyone was talking about EXO, even the casual and non-K-pop fans. Because although I covered EXO as part of my job, I really don't have any beef in this, whether EXO is on top or not on top. It doesn't matter to me. What does matter to me is becoming a smarter K-pop fan, to analyze K-pop intellectually and to come up with some cool conclusions. And for whatever reason, these fans' comments, at least most of them, aren't coming to that. Now, if you are one of those Soompi fans that did say some awesome smart comments that were fighting against these EXO haters and actually just being logical about it and basically saying, well, during that time, they were the nation's boy group, then I applaud you, and I am not talking about you guys and gals. But for those other people, and you know who I'm talking about, they fall into this common trap in K-pop, which is to pretty much just look at numbers and numbers alone to say which group is more influential and impactful. You can't use numbers alone to decide that. And I'm not blaming them for disagreeing with the list because again, everyone should have their own opinion. Totally cool. It's just that a lot of them are talking down to these music critics and judges, right? People that actually work in industry, they're fluent in Korean, obviously, and they live in Korea, so they can see the cultural impact of these songs. A lot of these fans think they know better than these judges actually are Korean. It blows my mind. Because I think most of these international fans don't know Korean at all, other than maybe some canned phrases they learned from K-dramas. Just the way that they're talking down to these judges, I do have a beef with. You know, I'm either friends or acquaintances with some of them. You know, I worked with some of them before, and they have a tough job of rating the songs. But I think they did, overall, a really good job. And now I can just call this video a day after I just called out these horrible takes by these K-pop international fans, but I don't want to do that because I think we should learn from this. So the first thing I want international K-pop fans to not do is just look narrowly at vanity metrics. Now, I mentioned in the beginning of this video that the judges went off 4 big criteria and that K-pop fans usually only use 1, which is vanity metrics. I think why you shouldn't use vanity metrics is because it doesn't paint the full story. In a video I did a long time ago, I talked about this concept I like to call K-pop inflation. So what is K-pop inflation? So K-pop inflation is that a number in the past, say like MV views, are not the same as they are in the present or in 2022. I'll give you an example. So this is a $1 bill. So back in 1900, this was worth, well, $1. But in today's currency, this is worth $34.23. Moving on to K-pop, I remember one of the first viral videos on YouTube was Girls' Generation's G back in 2009, and that had about 1 million views. Some of the new K-pop fans today go 1 million views, that's nothing. But they have to understand that 1 million views back then is probably worth 1 billion views today in 2022, if not more, like 1.25 billion views. New fans might be wondering, why would Girls' Generation's G be equated to 1 billion or 1.25 billion views. And the reason is, back in 2009, K-pop was nowhere near as popular as it is today. YouTube was only 4 years old as well, as YouTube came out in 2005. And social media was just taking off. I mean, Twitter just came out, in 2006-ish, I believe? And Instagram and TikTok weren't things back in 2009. And get this, J-pop was still the most popular music in Asia during that time, not K-pop. So a lot's changed from 2009 to 2022, where now a tier A and especially tier S K-pop group can clear easily 1 million views, which with the top acts such as Blackpink and BTS hitting 500 million views or even 1 billion views. And that's because in 2022, K-pop is a lot more popular. YouTube is a lot more fleshed out. We have more social media, and K-pop's now the cool thing, as opposed to 2009, when K-pop was still relatively niche. That's K-pop inflation for you right there, where views aren't the same. And even if you take Girls' Generation's views today, which has 291 million views, which is a lot, if that song was released today, and if Girls' Generation was in their prime in 2022, that would easily clear 1 billion views. K-pop inflation is a major reason alone why you can't just compare numbers and be like, okay, well, Blackpink has this many views and some other group, maybe EXO, has this many views, so obviously Blackpink is more popular. It's like you're forgetting K-pop inflation. You're not taking the setting of K-pop during that time, where Blackpink got really big in 2017 and especially 2018, and EXO started to hit their peak in 2013 with Growl. Between 2018 and 2013, that's a 5-year gap, which is an eternity in K-pop age. So numbers alone just doesn't tell the full story. So you might be asking, why do K-pop fans do this? Why is the culture so big in comparing numbers? Since there's no score in K-pop, the way that fans feel that a group is better or more influential or just more popular is by the numbers. Because outside of a few awards, such as the Day Songs, which are decided by music judges and critics, fandoms have a lot of power in deciding which groups win the best awards of that year. And many fans conclude that a group is significant or influential if they win a whole bunch of awards at the end of the year award show. And while vanity metrics aren't completely useless, and it does help, it doesn't guarantee everything at all. Because when you talk to the average person, a casual K-pop fan, they don't know or care how many awards a group has won. They just care if the songs are bangers, if they have slick moves in their music videos, and if they look pretty or handsome. And that's it. And a lot of casual K-pop fans will forget that trendy, popular song just a few weeks later and only remember the truly iconic songs down the road, whether it's 1, 2, 5, or even 10 years later. And some examples, if a song is culturally impactful and influential, is that if average people can just pick out that song right away, or if they quickly recognize that dance routine. It's similar to Marvel movies, where even if you're not a superhero fan, you're probably going to recognize Iron Man and Captain America, even if you've never read the comics or seen any of their movies before. A truly influential, impactful song will have such reach that you pretty much have to live under a rock to not have heard of it before.
From these comments, it seems like most of these fans just want a list that's all about vanity metrics and nothing more. So groups that have the most sales, MV views, and music show awards in a year. And even if we took out the other 3 factors that this Melon list used, if we were just going off these vanity metrics alone, they heavily skew towards much of the newer groups when K-pop exploded in popularity, where the newer songs would get a lot more exposure and social media shares, namely the 3rd and now 4th generation groups, whereas the 2nd and especially 1st gen groups pre-YouTube and social media will get no love. And any smart K-pop fan will know that there's a lot of 1st gen and 2nd gen songs that are very impactful to making K-pop what it is today. Their impact, sadly, won't be shown in MV views and numbers though. That's why, rather than shows that put in heavy emphasis on fan voting, like the Melon Music Awards, I actually prefer the KMAs, or Korean Music Awards, where only judges and music critics can vote, where the panel judges base their songs on other criteria other than music sales. Many musicians and labels hold this show in high regards, as it's the least biased judging system and not based on vanity metrics. But since fan voting doesn't play a part in the show at all, and the KMAs does not focus on idols, it's the least popular award show to K-pop fans. Yet, despite its lower popularity, it's the one that gets the awards right the most. Going back to the top 100 real quick, I can argue a number of songs that should have been ranked higher, regardless of their vanity metrics. I'll stick with one song though, the aforementioned Cherry Blossom Ending by Busker Busker, which not only won a slew of awards, but was played everywhere during 2012 in Seoul. A lot of Koreans consider this song iconic even today, recognizing the song's theme and jingle. And if you look at the comments from the MV, a lot of them are Korean, which is one of the major indicators that shows true impact in Korea. But if you were just to judge the song based on the numbers, such as its only 27 million views, most international K-pop fans wouldn't come to that conclusion at all. They just wouldn't get why the song is so influential. And they would use their 2022 standards of judging K-pop songs and look at the 27 million views as being way too low, and compared to the supergroups today that routinely clear 100 million views, they'll come to the conclusion that Cherry Blossom Ending, because of those low views, isn't an influential song at all, which I would definitely disagree with.
One of the best ways I like to use to see a song's influence is called the street interview test, which I talk about in a couple of my videos in the past. So what is the street interview test? It's quite simple. All you do is go on the street and talk to people and say, have you heard of this group or this song before? And that's it. And if you have most people, if not all, say yes, then your song is probably going to be culturally significant. If they can hum it, if they know the dance moves, if they say they have like a relative or a friend, or they're a fan themselves, then yeah, that song has a lot of reach. To put this with EXO's Growl, you pretty much had to live under a rock again to not have never heard of that song before in 2013 and much of 2014, because nearly everyone recognized the group, the beat, the choreography, and the music video. And it was a ton of subway posters back then of EXO's Growl, because pretty much everywhere you went in Seoul and Busan and a lot of the major Korean cities, you'd see EXO posters scattered in a lot of places. And even things like Happy Baekhyun Day, who's one of the members of EXO, is still quite popular in Korea today in 2022. This huge presence by EXO's Growl also cannot be seen purely on numbers. And when people first mention K-pop, they'll mention BTS. That's the impact that Growl had back in 2013. EXO was so impactful back in their day that they were known as the nation's boy group. And EXO was known in much of Asia, as when I went vacationing in places such as Hong Kong and Singapore, a lot of fans would ask me about EXO as soon as I told them about living in Korea and that I cover them for a living. So now we arrive to the overall best way of judging an influential or culturally impactful song. And the answer to that is that you have to combine a whole bunch of criteria, including, yes, vanity metrics. So I think, as we just talked about, the best single method is the street interview test, but that's not enough because data is also important. Yes, MV views and other stuff also add into the equation. So yes, I do think vanity metrics to a certain part are important. And then we have smart K-pop fans, which I know you are since you watch this channel, that will have some really good takes about what makes a song culturally impactful. And then we have music critics, judges, and even journalists like myself to see what song is culturally significant, as well as the average Korean's take on what songs are iconic. And then when you add all of those together, we have what I feel is the most accurate picture of an influential song. And I do hope that you guys and gals understand why I was so frustrated with a lot of these international fans, and they're putting down the Melon judges and critics and thinking they know better, and just being disrespectful to those judges, yet they only look through K-pop through one lens, which is vanity metrics. So hopefully you learned something on what makes a song more impactful or influential, and don't fall into the trap of vanity metrics. Please don't. Look at a song at a variety of angles, and I guarantee you'll be a smarter K-pop fan in no time. So I'd love to know your take in the comments below.
And if you want real talk with no fluff on how the K-pop industry works from a journalist standpoint, grab my free ebook below.
And with that being said, I'll see you in the next video.